Welcome to Power Hour, where the editors of Power Sports Business interview the movers and shakers of the industry. This episode is brought to you by Synchrony.
Hi, everybody. It's Brendan Baker with Power Sports Business, and we have on the Power Hour today two heavyweights, two big time Power Sports people. We got Zach Materne and Max Materne, the brothers, the Materne brothers, who are also contributors. Both of them are contributors, and contributors together in our most recent issue, our July issue that's gone out. So welcome, guys. Glad to have you on. Glad you can make it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, we're excited to be here.
I know you're Zach, you're getting ready to go on a vacation. So you got a bunch of calls to make. I know how that I just got back from vacation, and it was like frantic trying to get everything finished in time, you know.
It must be nice to be able to take a vacation. I feel like I'm going the opposite of vacation. I'm going
like
into the fire.
Dude, you know what? Normally I'm the 2 vacation a year. I live for vacations pretty much, you know. I mean, I work as much as I have to, but if I could vacation all the time, but you know, financially that's not really possible.
Yeah. I want your job if that's the case. I need to do that.
No, it's not even. Yeah, you know. But yeah, so what we're going to talk about today is, you know, you guys had a dealership. You and your family owned a dealership that you started in New Orleans, right? In 2002.
That's right.
That's correct.
Yep.
And when did you sell the dealership?
October of 2019 is when we sold it.
Oh, okay. So yeah. About 6 years ago, 5.5 years
and
ago.
And if anybody's unaware, right after that was COVID. So it turns out it was the worst time to sell a dealership was right before COVID. So
I don't know if it's worse to sell, although no, you're right.
We missed out on all the good part.
The whole big thing of like everybody buying out everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, but I do think the inverse of that is the stress that would have been around those first couple of weeks of what in the hell's going on, and also being in New Orleans, which is probably one of the strictest cities in the U.S. for restrictions.
For COVID.
Navigating that beginning, I think probably would have been pretty stressful. We would have been able to live the glory days, but I don't envy anyone that lived through that part.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Those first couple of weeks really sucked.
The first couple of weeks was chaos. I know that my local dealers, I was talking to them and they're like, well, they just let everybody go home basically and said, we don't know what's going to happen. Then all of a sudden the phone started ringing off the hook.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, do we bring them all back? And, so they were kind of half like, I don't know is this a real thing? Is this really happening now? And then it just,
going.
And they're like, oh God.
Yeah. So we missed that, but it's okay.
But I mean, everything happens for a reason, I think.
Exactly.
I know that, like I was telling you guys, my dad, we owned a parts store, independent jobber shop parts store for my dad ran it for like 20 some years. He wanted to pass it on to me. I'm like 19, I was like Zach's age in that photo. I'm like, I'm not ready to run a store. I mean, I have other things I want to do. Mainly I was going to go racing. And I'm like, that does not fit in with my plan. Plus the store was major in debt, and I'm like, this doesn't sound like a good, I'm going to have to do a turnaround plan on my,
exactly. That sounds like
a turnaround plan. But, the opportunity was there. He gave it to me. Thanks, Dad. Appreciate that. But, at the same time, I do sometimes revisit the thought of like, what if I did that? Where would things be? And so you guys are kind of getting, and I know Zach, you're sort of a little off to the peripheral of it. You're involved with the dealership now a little bit as a insurer. You insure them, right?
I insure the dealership. Yes.
You insure the dealership. So what was your role when you first start, or when you were ending things there? What was your job, both of you guys, what did you guys do at the dealership?
So like once
Besides everything.
once we knew we were wrapping it up.
Yeah,
Is
sort
that
of
what
like,
you're saying?
it's
So
the high point. What was your roles there?
so I ran the whole front of the house operation. So motorcycle sales, the F&I department. And I was typically the where the rubber met the road with marketing and promotions and advertising. Max and I worked together in coordinating that stuff, but I was the one that was actually, sending out the newsletters and social media posts and doing that piece of it. So really forward facing, all the happy people that are excited motorcycles, and the Max had to deal with all the angry people who had to fix.
He was all in the back end with service.
Yeah. So apparently we that photo that you can see on Power Sports Business, where we were children when this opened. I was 14, Zach was 19, and I assume right after we opened that door, if my memory serves me right, we walked in and drew straws. Zach got all the happy people in the front of the house, and then I got service department, warranty, all the back headache area. So the entire time I ran fixed operations, parts, service, all that. And actually we built a location out at NOLA Motorsports Park, a speed shop, and I ran that as well. So yeah, that was tune and suspension, doing, we had memberships. So we would basically store people's race bikes. We would set them up for them for track days, that whole thing. So
you guys have like a container or like a little shop there that you can store bikes and
garage is built out there. And so we built within our garage, we had kind of a long drive-through garage. So we'd have storage back there. We had a really, really cool shop. And then the best part was we built a second story with a full clubhouse. So we had a bar and a whole, one whole wall was Velcro and covered with knee pucks that were signed by people. Like it was a cool,
that's
really
pretty
cool
cool.
It's still there. It's not ours anymore, but you can go visit that.
Wrapped yourself in Velcro and ran against the wall.
That would be better. We never tried that. We should have done that.
It was kind of like a pro shop or clubhouse to a golf course, right? Like, because you could buy things you needed, pucks. You could rent suits. You could store your bike with us. Then we had a spot upstairs where when the day was over, drink a couple beers and bench race and maybe watch a MotoGP race on TV. It was actually probably one of the best marketing things that we ever did. We opened that in 2012, I think. It was right when the track opened. We were the first tenant out there.
Yeah.
And we hosted some really cool events.
I was there not long after that for a BF, like a tire test with BF Goodrich.
Nice. Yeah, I think that was all that same year. I think I remember that event coming, and a
bunch of Skip Barber guys were there, so I knew all the instructors and stuff, and I, it was pretty cool. But I love that track; it's really cool track. And the go-kart track was one of my key things. It was amazing because was that the year they had the Rotax Championship there?
It was in that. I think we were there for like 5 years, I think, and it was somewhere in that 5 years. They had an AMA. They had the last ever AMA Pro Superbike race was there before I went to Moto America.
Yeah.
They had an IndyCar event there at one point. So there were some events that came through when we had our spot, which was really cool.
They don't use that track for more now.
Yeah, right.
But,
totally.
It's there. So maybe I could see, who knows, Formula One, they're always looking for, all the Europeans want to go to New Orleans. You would go to Europe and say, where in America would you like to go? New Orleans is.
Yeah. Well, we need some stands out there. That's for sure. There's not a lot of stands. You just have
that's true. It's not really
Dodge alligators out there.
Really fan friendly zone. Yeah. It's more alligator zone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What else was cool though, too, is that culture really didn't exist in New Orleans before before the track opened. And so we were very intentional on becoming the experts in the space, which is why Max and I went to track school and started racing during that time. Yeah. And just being New Orleans is always someone coming through town that is a celebrity or a musician or whatever. And they would usually come to our store. That, they would also come out to the track. We taught Ryan Reynolds how to ride on a racetrack. Kevin Schwantz, who taught us how to race at his school at Barber, trained for the Suzuka, 24-hour Suzuka out of our garage, right?
Really?
So we had some really, really cool events and
some great experiences.
A lot of fun. Ducati launched. It was either the 1199 or the 1299. We had the Academy. Yeah,
the original Panigale.
Yeah, the original Panigale U.S. A training event was held there. So we had 25 Panigale shipped to us. Max had to prep them. I'm a mechanic.
Not only had to prep them, I had to test ride every single one on the racetrack. I had to break in every single one of them.
Yeah.
So it was.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you. Okay, so you guys are, me and my brother, we have a lot. We do a lot in common. We've raced together forever. We're business partners on other projects and all that. We've worked together. But we have a lot of the same skill set. Like he's mechanical, I'm mechanical. I'm probably more mechanical because I did that more than he did. But in some ways, he may be better. He's got a little more patience than I do, I'd say. And I'm working on stuff where I'm like, forget it. I'm like, F this. I would say I learned to swear because of being a mechanic.
Yeah, of course.
But Max, how did you develop mechanical skill? Was it just because of the nature of you're in the business and you got put in the back room, he got put in the front room, and you just kind of learned those roles?
So I joke about that, that I pulled the short straw, but it was pretty obvious that I was going to be the service guy. Zach is, he could sell. He's incredible at relationships and knowing people and building rapport. But hopefully you'll agree with me, Zach. Zach is not the strongest when it comes to mechanics. Is that
my Vespa turn signals still aren't working? I installed. I need you to fix this.
Yeah, I know. I got to fix that for you. I'm coming over. I'm going to fix it. Just let me know when. Yeah, so Zach's not the mechanical. But when we started, I was 14. It's not like I was like, I'm a mechanic now. But I did.
You had
a lot of stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So I had always been handy. I had always I learned how to weld when I was really young. So I used to build a lot of stuff. So that was when I was 9. So not that, from 9 to 14, I was doing those things.
You were welding at 9 years old. That's
yeah. It was an interesting.
Your parents just said, you know what? We don't know what to do with this kid. Give him a blowtorch. You know? Well,
our mom was a silversmith, so she was doing a lot of metal work already in the house, and I decided. I'm going to do the big stuff. So, I think I just had a knack for how stuff worked and kind of more of an engineering mind. And Zach is just the best selling personality there is, but definitely not an engineering mind.
He's the top seller. Yeah.
I built this desk and it's still standing, so I'm good. It falls mid-call. That's why.
That's why it happened.
Yeah.
When I fix the Vespa turn signals, I'm going to come check that desk just to make sure you're okay.
For me.
The problem with being a mechanic, and this is, I don't know how, Max, if you're this way, but being a mechanic, I work on all my own stuff. As a matter of fact, I'm injured now because I had 2 cars go down while I'm trying to, get ready to go on this vacation. I'm hammering out ball joints and doing all this stuff. And I'm but usually the worst cars or the worst vehicles are the mechanic's car, because you're I'll get to that. I can drive around that, kind of stuff. So.
Well, yes, I would agree with you. So much so that I am looking right now at a motor on a stand that is ripped down all the way to the cases, that has been sitting like that for probably 2 years now. It's an Alfa Romeo motor that I'm rebuilding. I blew it up in a race.
Vintage Alfa Romeo, old Alfa.
It's a 1974 Alfa Romeo Giulia, and I raced it 2 years ago. Dropped a valve just right through the middle of a piston. Actually, I got that one. Hold on, I'll show you that. Let's see. It was still running, but just a big old. There's a valve hole right there.
This is the other thing that mechanics are known for, is we keep gnarled parts because we like to show people look what I did.
Yeah. Look how much I messed this up.
Yeah our shop, that was funny because our store, we had all these Volkswagen parts. We would have gnarled pistons with valves through it stuck in there, and it'd be part ashtray. Back in when we were owning, everyone smoked, right? So they all came in and sat around. We had giant ashtrays, and we'd have pistons sitting in the middle of the ashtray that were all messed up,
Yep. Lots of piston pen holders. Every shop got one of those.
Good paperweights or /trophies. You can. I still have I have a drawer full of like stuck pistons from my go-kart down in my toolbox. And I'm like, I'm going to do something with this someday.
Just melt them down, maybe? I don't know what you do with a bunch of
but I don't know. You know, it's like wall art. I got to figure that out. But, you know.
Oh, yeah. My walls are covered in old motor parts that can't go on anything. So I get it. I agree.
So let's talk about where things are now with, you know, so we're just published the story about your turnaround plan. Yeah. How did this come about? What made you, you know, decide like, or did they approach you and want your help? And, you know, how's that going to come about?
Yeah. So basically, sorry, a little echo there. Just want to make sure I'm not hearing that. What happened was, well, we sold the store, like we said, October 2019. A couple years before that, I had actually started working for Garage Composites. And I'm still doing that. I'm still consulting and training. I do all the service training, any like the service management academies I created and teach. And it's a real joy. I love doing it. And so I learned a lot about, you know, dealership operations more so than what I did before, but it also kind of forced me to start standardizing some of the things that Zach and I had done inside of our dealership. And then once we standardized them and started training them across Garage Composites, then we started seeing like what really worked. Now, 3 years ago, my partner, Danny French, and I, who actually used to be my parts guy and then opened his own dealership called French and Sons. We always kept in touch about like, how do we execute like the future vision of what we think the dealership should be? And so kind of what I mean is like the way that we ran the store required us to have all these little workarounds and all these additional tools. And it took so much effort and energy, and it took so much training of the staff. And we used to talk about all the things that we wish existed. Like, man, if only there was a thing that helped us do blank, then that would make this job easier, and more importantly, would give a customer a better experience. And so about 3 years ago, Danny and I like officially started working on that project, which was the study became what creates customer loyalty and how can we create more loyalty with customers? And so many pieces of that. There's, you know, that's such a broad question that it isn't just like, well, engage with your customers better, but how do you engage with your customers better? Like, okay, I can teach that all day long. And that's what, you know, with Garage Composites, I teach, here's what you got to do, and here's what you should be doing. But when the rubber meets the road, you actually go into the store, like, what's the tool you're using, and what's the exact process, and how should it be staffed and operated? And so when we started looking at what builds loyalty, we started realizing there's things that we can change about the current model. And then that got us on this whole idea of maybe what our mission should become as Onyx, our new company, is defining future dealerships, not just like saying, here's the model that we know works, because, you know, what Garage Composites does is absolutely like foundational, and that is necessary for everything you're doing in a dealership model. But then we thought, you know, if we're going to define the future, what's it got to be? Like, why are customers going to keep buying vehicles from us? Why are customers going to keep returning and spending more money with us? So that's why we actually, Onyx stands for ownership experience. So everything is kind of based on how do you streamline the process? How do you design the showroom? How do you, what tools do you need? How do you build the tools? How do they work with the staff? Which is a huge ask. That's like a lot to do, right? But
that's a lot of work.
The attempt is I know, God, it has been a ton of work. The attempt is, what does the future look like for our industry from a, you know, retail perspective, from a customer focused perspective? And, you know, it's interesting when you start putting yourself out there as like, hey, I don't have all the answers yet, but I'm kind of, Danny and I and the rest of my Onyx team now, we're becoming like the center of this conversation. Like, if you're considering doing something different, if you're a brand that's trying to come to the US, there's one right now in particular we're talking to, but if you're a brand coming to the US and want to establish an experience that's different than everyone else, that creates more loyalty and more profitability, like, that's what we're defining. And so that has turned into designing showrooms. So we're actually working on one right now. We're talking about like what software is working in the stores. And then one of our biggest things we do is actually go into a store and do what we call a delve analysis. So we study the store store every single thing about it, their financial health, their inventory health, their sales penetration, their locations. We do LiDAR scans of their stores, and we identify what merchandising is selling more product, what shop layout is creating more proficiency.
LiDAR, is it just give you like heat type thing, or what is?
No, I'll show you. I'll show you one. Let's see. I'm sorry, listeners, you're not going to see this.
I just saw something on. I'm kind of I guess I'm at the age where you got to start getting into World War II history. I was like watching some World War II thing on, like, they were taking drones into the Ardennes. So my grandpa was in the Battle of the Bulge in World War II. So I've always been fascinated with it. And they took this drone in, and it had LiDAR on it, right?
Uh-huh.
And they were mapping it out, and they could like eliminate the trees to see where all the divots and all the all the bunkers and things were during World War II, like the original stuff. So I was like, okay, that's pretty sweet.
So actually, when we started doing these studies, one of the important things about our study was that we just wanted to understand as much as we possibly could about the store when we were physically there and with them, so that we could use this information for improving stores in the future. So at first, I didn't know what I was going to use it for, and now it's turned into actually helping design stores. But can you see my screen right here?
Yeah.
So this is a LiDAR scan. For listeners who can't see this, this is a picture quality 3D visual of a service department. And so I can zoom into the service department and see exactly what units they're working on, where their shops are, where their shop layout is. But because we study them financially, we study their proficiency of the shop, we study their staff, we interview their staff about what's working, what's not, we know that this store creates this much proficiency and has these problems along with it. So we take this data and these visuals and we say, okay, well, if you were going to make a better dealership, I've got 16 different dealerships and I know exactly which ones are making most proficiency. How would you design a future store that would be better than what this is now? So that's just one example of like the tremendous amount of data. And then we turn it into these things, like this is the shop layout. Okay. This is the dollars per square foot of each department, the contribution per square foot. So we work on basically anything that has to do with, let's imagine future dealerships and let's be your partner in imagining that future. And because of that, that means that we've come up with software and ways of data mining. Like we do equity mining with our software. So that means that we connect to a customer's DMS.
Bitcoin back in return.
I still don't understand Bitcoin, so I'm not smart enough for that. But like we'll connect to Lightspeed and pull all of the transactions out of Lightspeed and then organize those transactions by consumer. From there, we can identify their loyalty score, so how loyal they are to the location, how much profitability they generate across all departments, and also, more importantly, their trade probability as well as their equity position using NPA auction data. So we can actually know, hey, if you traded this unit in, it's got $2,000 in positive equity, you're paying $500 a month. So if you wanted to just keep paying $500 a month, you could afford these particular motorcycles. And so,
right where that breaking point is.
Exactly.
When it's worth it for the trade-in post value, which that's always a tough one,
It is.
Like, and it's, on a consumer side, you have no idea, you're like, I don't know if this is worth anything,
Yep.
But
so that's the whole point is to say, like, if we've got this capability, if we've got these tools and this data and this opportunity, then what would it look like if you designed the dealership to incorporate those things? If it wasn't about waiting for the door to swing for a customer to come in, but instead you're continuously re-engaging your existing base, where they are in their equity position, you can swap them out for another vehicle. It's basically like our vision of the future dealer is where you're not buying motorcycles, you're just coming in and buying a motorcycle and hopefully you show back up at the store. What you're doing is these customers are paying a monthly fee for a lifestyle. And that includes the vehicle they're buying, that includes the services they're getting done with priority maintenance, that includes the events that they're invited to and events that are going on. That's like supporting the community. And the customers are monthly re-engaging it. Because, I might be biased because I'm a millennial, but everything is a subscription. I pay for my music as a subscription. I don't buy CDs or albums or any of that stuff. So I think it's that concept, I think, has been around for a long time. What we're trying to do with Onyx is define how you actually do it. And it's cool that Zach Zach went into a very different direction, which is insuring dealerships. And though that might not sound sexy, if you're trying to design what a future dealership looks like,
it's sexy.
Oh man, I mean, there's nothing more sexy than like State Farm insurance. You know, and what are you wearing? Khakis? What are you wearing?
Let me share my spreadsheets with you.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, how you doing?
He's a freak in the spreadsheets. Yeah. But yeah, like what's interesting, Zach and I had this conversation a couple of days ago where I'm talking about, okay, in this turnaround, which I'll go into detail in a second, but in this turnaround, here's something I want to do, and I want to make test ride a big part of this. And so making sure that we can be insured in that, and this can be replicated across the entire country, means like understanding, okay, how can stores do this in a way that's realistic? You know, like some of this, I've talked to a couple of people who talked about like, how could I just, as a consumer, how could I just pay monthly and get be able to swap out vehicles? Like there's a company in New York that does this with cars called the Classic Car Club of Manhattan. Great spot. I know the guys really well.
I was kind of thinking Turo. Type that.
That's more like loaning. What Classic Car Club of Manhattan does is they you pay a membership fee. Your membership is exchanged for essentially credits, and you can use your credits to use any of their cars in the fleet. So they've got like brand new supercars, they've got cool classic cars, they've got trucks where you can be able to move stuff around. But you know, those credits go to different vehicles at different rates for different times. So there's this whole strategy for it. So I was like, maybe that's the way to do it. But you know, what's really hard to do is get that insured. That's next to impossible to get insured.
Right.
And so it's
partial ownership, like who actually owns it? Who's the driver?
What happens when it gets stolen or they crash it or any of that stuff? So that doesn't work in power sports. So we have to figure out other ways to do it.
Put a buzzkill on everything, man.
Exactly.
Come on.
So when I can go
sexy.
Yeah.
But I can, you got to stay sexy while you're doing it, though.
Right. When I can be like laying under Zach's desk, fixing it later while he's feeding me dinner or fixing his Vespa turn signals and saying, hey, I got this idea. Do you think we can get that insured? It allows us to kind of iterate new versions of what a dealership might be a little faster. Yeah. And then here's the wild part, though. Who's going to be the first one to try it? Like, that's been our biggest struggle.
These guys this is like your guinea pig kind of.
Yes.
There we go. Okay. So they're allowing you the keys to the kingdom to try out all these ideas and to basically see if,
So not only is it keys to the kingdom, but it's our old store. It's what Zach and I grew up in,
So you understand it intimately.
We know the castle.
You know the castle, probably some of the same customers are still going there. Is the store, I mean, like everything right now, they probably went like gangbusters right after, COVID and all that. And now they're coming back down. Are they surviving? Was this like, we're not going to make it kind of thing, or we just want to see if we can do better and allow you to try to implement ideas? Or
it's a not good situation. So I heard through the grapevine that things weren't going so good and there might not be that long of a future. And that's where I reached out to the owner and basically said, hey, how about this? Give me a chance to do something. Let's see if we can turn it around quickly. And
right.
Well, and then the loss is so large that there had to be like a quick turnaround. So the response was, okay, if you could do it in 3 months, then great. And so that's what we're doing. So I said, all right, challenge accepted. And we're going to step back into our old store that is falling apart. And by Zach is not joining on the endeavor except as the insurer.
Right.
I'm actually renewing the insurance today. So
there we go. The good story is we're going to have.
So you'll be good when you get there next week.
Yeah. You're covered. Yeah. I mean, it's more than garage insurance. These dealerships, all that you got to have way more than just the basics.
It makes or breaks the store. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's something we didn't know the importance of when we were running the store. And then Zach gets out, starts studying insurance. He's like, "Oh my gosh, we could have." Exactly. Like, how did we stay alive this long? So
yeah.
So yeah, at least that part's covered.
Look at that when I was a teenager, how I was speeding down, doing 150 miles an hour on back streets, like, why did I think that was a good idea? I mean, it was fun and I survived, but man, that was dumb. I wouldn't tell my kid to ever do. I'd kick his ass. Whatever.
Yep.
So you're getting a kind of a big. I mean, it's an opportunity, but it's also like this is real life. This isn't just make believe.
Yeah. So the idea of taking not only these future ideas that we have, but also all the incredible things that I learned working with stores through Garage Composites of like, hey, these are some processes that we can put in that'll immediately, stop the bleeding, at least in some areas. So I'm going to go in, kind of triage things, and then start putting some forward thinking ideas in place and then document all of it in Power Sports Business. So people get to know, did it work or not? And,
right.
I jokingly said this earlier, this will either be like a really great thing to follow for dealers to understand what to do or what not to do. And I completely destroy my career. So
I don't know about my insurance articles in Power
and then that's why insurance articles will be very important.
Yeah,
but we are going to get to Zach on the insurance thing, so I just want to that was a good article, by the way, Zach. And so we're not just plugging, Max.
Oh, no. I enjoy just being just being an observer sometimes.
Being an observer and
thanks for the invite.
Being part of the peanut gallery like myself a lot of times.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think that this is going to be a big challenge for you for sure.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, without really, we're going to have to wait and see. I mean,
yeah.
So we'll have these monthly updates.
Yeah.
Pretty much of what's going on. And that's going to be exciting.
I start on Tuesday. Tuesday is my first day.
Okay.
And I know, I mean, I've done this before.
How often have you been back in the dealership?
I ran the store. I know what it's like, but man, it is. I'm stepping back in the fire in a really, really hard time. This is the slowest time of the year for this store as well, and so it's going to be a really big struggle. But one of the big things that I'm focusing on, and you will all learn if this works, is I'm going to lean very heavily on the existing staff, and so we're starting with just really in-depth, long interviews and conversations with them on what's working, what's not, and
are they all ideas together. Is the staff, is the ownership, or you're still kind of waiting to see what the staff says about?
Well, I hate to say it this way, but they don't really have an option. I'm in there on Tuesday anyway. I did get to introduce myself to the staff. Most of the staff knows who I am anyway because it was our store, so I've passed in and I've still got motorcycles there, okay. So, yeah, there's still at least that. New Orleans is a small place, so it's hard to not know each other.
Right.
But I did go in there. Here's one thing that was my very first surprise, was that I planned on going to talk to the current general manager and tell him kind of, hey, I'm going to come in and help. I'm going to be additional support for you. I'm going to put some things in place. We're going to brainstorm. And in that meeting, they let me know, by the way, I'm changing everyone's names so that they, protect their identity on these. But that GM, who great person, great operator, let me know, hey, so I just put in my notice. And Friday is their last day. So I'm stepping in as they're stepping out as the actual general manager. There's no service manager right now. There is a sales manager. It's just, so it's crumbling, to say the least.
You're sort of like Gordon Ramsay then, you're going to be like
car rescue or
kitchen nightmares or something like that, and the turnaround. Actually, Gordon Ramsay was just in town here in Akron, and everyone kept the funny thing is, so he went to a specific place, but everyone kept doing AI shots of them at their place,
Really?
And I fell for it. I was like, oh, Gordon Ramsay was down there. Why is he still wearing a chef coat? I fell for it. I was like, oh man, it was freaking AI,
That's what I got to do. I'm going to make an AI picture of Gordon Ramsay in our showroom.
Yeah. Have Gordon Ramsay go up to buy, but you'll be like the Gordon Ramsay of the motorcycle industry, at least at this. I mean, it's a tall task, but I think even if you, and I don't want to, I always go by the motto of like, under promise, over deliver kind of thing. But sometimes, I don't know how, you don't know how it's going to.
No idea.
Out, so.
And that's the thing. I mean, I admitted in the first article, which just you posted today, so thank you. I'm going to share it all. What works, what doesn't. I've been telling the same stories and teaching the same content for 8 years now. Like the same. Here's what works. Here's what worked in my store, and I know that it worked. And believe me. And now I'm going to go back into my store and try and put back in place the things that I created there because they're no longer in place anymore. And I'm going to see if it works, and it might not. And if it doesn't, then I'll tell you it doesn't work, and this is what we're trying now. So I think it'll be very entertaining. But I am not going to hold any bad news back because I think the dealers need to know it. Every dealer I talk to has no idea what tomorrow brings, and they're looking for answers. And so I'm just going to do that as honestly as I possibly can.
Well, and I think coming at it with a plan in mind too is far more than a lot of people in business today anyway, especially when you get in trouble, you end up being more of a you've got yourself a permanent job, but you're working in the business, not on the business. And it's very hard to be able to step back and to be able to get that helicopter view and make those big changes when you're in it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? When you're really enmeshed in that.
Trying to bail out what's happening now, not necessarily.
Yeah, you're just like, man, I'm just trying to stay above water, trying to keep the this thing afloat. Yeah. But so I think it'll be interesting, and I'm sure you'll have some good results.
Actually, one thing that I'm working on for this whole thing is a really clear agenda, like what I'm doing on a weekly basis. And I want it to be in a way that people can read these articles and replicate it. Like, okay, this is what I did. I came in, I met with the staff. These are the things we talked about. This is how we utilize that information to move it forward. And I'll share what works and what doesn't. But I'm hoping that, you guys have a big enough audience. Every dealer needs help right now. And, me and my little team can't help every single store. But if we can at least share some insights and a strategy that somebody can just immediately plug in place and see some results. And that's the goal of this whole thing.
I mean, a lot of it too is like, okay, if you look at our latest issue with our, dealer snapshot that we do with Lightspeed, and Lightspeed, they pull all their data and kind of, they really put that together. But everything was down other than service. Service was slightly up, and isn't that the case? So to say new units, I think pre-owned is going to be is taking up, but that it shows a weakness in the other sectors, and especially in like stuff like financing and things like that, where people aren't ready to pull the trigger on something big. They're like, oh, buy used, but service is still strong, and service actually leads back into the customer loyalty thing. And I think it was in your article where you say sales sells the first one, and service sells the rest, the others. So I think that having a strong service, and even in downtimes, if you can keep service department strong enough and move some of these other units, you can probably still maintain and keep going, and then bridge the gap to better times.
That's the stop bleeding part that we're talking about. Is like, how do we get the absorption up? We get service and parts covering more of the bills, and then for a long time, our strategy was going to be for turning these stores around is make fixed ops better, make service better, and it's going to make customers want to buy their second and third from you, which is great, but that is a long-term play. And dealers don't need long-term plays right now. They need like a now strategy. They don't need to be told invest more in this department. They need to be told like, hey, start making this change. And I think that change, and this is where we're really going to test it, is in the store. That change is you've already got 10 to 15,000 customers in your database. Let's do something with them now. And that's not just bring them back for service. Let's identify the customers that are in their life cycle, that are in the sweet spot for trade, and make that process so easy for them that they're not trading units, they're swapping units out. And so we've got a whole process that
where it makes sense for them to exactly, like, it'd be hard for them to say no to that, because you're like, well, of course that makes a perfect sense,
Yeah. I'd rather, if I'm already spending $500 a month, I'll just keep spending $500 a month and get a new one. Like, that's it. So everybody knows, I mean, every dealer operator, every F&I guy, every sales guy understands that concept that like you can get a new one and pay the same monthly payment if you're in this little sweet spot of finance. You got enough equity, you paid off enough of the loan. It's just a matter of how do you actually do it? And so that's where, we built that software to be able to get us to the first level, but then there's still the actual execution of how do you communicate that with the customer. And that's what we're going to discover here. We'll do A/B tests. We're going to try different communication strategies, and we'll come up with like, okay, when you say it in this way, or when you present it this way, when you make the appointment easy, when you get pre-approvals, when you work with a finance source, like, I don't know what that answer is yet.
Right.
We're going to find out the hard way.
At least to know, like, hey, this is real, it's not preordained or you're going to actually put these things to the test and see what happens.
We're testing theories.
Throwing spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, hey guys, really appreciate you coming on. And Zach, I do want to, talk real briefly though about your, when you say like, insurance is that they've contracted again, or they've, what was we're having more more people bail out of that market. What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, so the most recent is Century, which Century is a direct market. So we, as a broker, I can't access that, but the dealers can the clients can approach them directly. In 2023, they had pulled out of they had collapsed their power sports program, except for Harley Davidson dealers. And as of July 1, they'll start non-renewing Harley Davidson dealers. And my data shows me it's probably about 200 more stores that will be coming into the market that are looking for coverage in an already tight market. So what has happened is
they were Century. Most of those were Century then.
Yeah, like I said, my data is about 200 of these stores are going to be coming into the market. And it's going to take 12 months to peel them off, because if you had a 630, you got renewed. If you got a 7-1, you didn't get renewed, right?
Right.
And one issue there is that if you're with Century, you probably have not been engaging a broker. And so Century, once they're gone, they can't help you anymore. So there are direct markets and broker markets. I'm a broker, so if that were to happen if I were to lose an underwriter with a client I already have, then I would just go and transition it to another one of my underwriters. Now, that number keeps getting smaller and smaller, but so it creates an immediate issue where if you are, let's say you have a September renewal, by law, they've got to let you know 60 days before, but if you haven't started preparing for that yet, it could really have you scrambling, which is why I wrote the article when I did, because if someone sees that, they open it up and go, oh my gosh, but really there's a finite amount of time where we can be effective before your renewal date. You want 90 days is really optimal. I need to be in the market by no less than 30 days with everything I need from you as the client.
Yeah. So if the industry wasn't hard enough as it is, this is also happening at the same time.
Yeah. Right.
So what else has happened is that because 4 underwriters have left in 5 years, and they're going to who's left, all of these underwriters are tightening the screws. So they're saying, okay, if we're going to take on these new risks, if we're going to take on these new motorcycle dealers, we're going to make it more difficult if you have a bad operations and bad risk management to get approved. And so biggest things that are happening right now is test ride requirements are changing. If they're even still there, you may lose your test rides altogether. And then events, and really making sure that the clients understand that your events that you have at your dealership are not covered by your insurance policy. If it's outside of normal business operations, run it by your underwriter. And
Right.
if they say no, go get an event policy, right?
I had a dealer tell me that almost exact same thing. He's like, I'm not doing any of these events. We're cutting way back on it because, we can't get the coverage. It's not covered. So if they do an event, it's like a demo event by the OEM that comes in with their own insurance or whatever, or they do it off site with the OEM's insurance. But, that also puts a hamper on business too.
Yeah,
Sure. You're not having events. I mean, it's like you say, it's part of the ownership experience of, events are part of it. So it's a key thing to have them.
Right.
But yeah, well, guys, I really appreciate it. This is going to be exciting the insurance thing is sad. And
well, it's exciting. It keeps me up at night.
It's but hopefully, I don't know. I mean, what happens if there's only, how many players are left really in the insurance, or is it just smaller underwriters? And
there's less than 10, let's just say, if we're looking at every part of the country, and the ones that can be really effective, there's like 4. 4 or 5, right?
It's tough.
Look, someone will always insure you. It's just that
it's what they're going to.
At what cost, right? That's the biggest thing too. When people talk to me about reducing premium, I'm just like, let's just find you coverage.
Right. Yeah. You need to get coverage, and then
let's look at your exposure to see make sure you're insured correctly. But at the end of the day, I never start with premium. We always start with what's the exposure, and then work backwards from there.
Yeah. No, that makes sense for sure. All right. Well, hey guys, both of you, thanks for coming on, and Max, we'll keep updated. Everyone, keep their eyes open for the next article, and we want to hear updates. We'll probably have to hop on another one of these after the 90 days. Let's see how it goes, and maybe we'll get on another one. And you can tout, how successful it was.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
I'll also be doing updates like. Not only the ones in Power Sports Business, but I'll be doing like shorter updates on X. It's Onyx_IO. So I'll be just doing kind of like what today's battle is, or what today's focus is. And then also on Instagram at Max_Materne.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, on both of those.
That much, but I do Instagram. But
there you go.
Definitely keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, the X stuff is going to be more like the inside baseball. I'm doing less of that on the Instagram because really,
more photo stuff.
Yeah, I'm not interested in. I can't share that in front of the staff that's going to be watching. Like, oh, that's what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah, the inside baseball is going on X. The here's the visuals of like what's happening, and that's going on Instagram. So
very cool.
That'll be good. Yeah. It'll be a fun journey to follow. And again, you're either going to watch a triumph or, an implosion. So
yeah, well, I'm putting my bet on that it's going to be successful. So
well, good. Yeah. Hey, well then I will take any advice, and that goes for any listener too. If you got good advice and good ideas on what we're going to do, it's actually been great. Even in the short amount of time people have found out that I'm doing this, people have been coming out of the woodwork. So like, hey, how can I help? This is an idea. Here's a thing. Actually, financing sources have reached out. OEMs have reached out. So it's going to be really awesome. Yeah, and that's
you already got an insurance guy that's right there.
The business will be insured all 90 days, so you'll be good.
Can't guarantee 91, but
right. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Well, thank you
have
so
a good
much.
one. Have a good one, both of you guys, and thanks. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Sounds great.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
If you like this podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. We also invite you to connect with us on powersportsbusiness.com.